Now, Josh, where you are right now, it's September 11 in America. In Australia, we've already gone to September 12. But I was reflecting yesterday on how much America has changed since that attack and how the magnitude of that awful day has been minimised in many ways. I mean, we've got the Vice President and others comparing January 6 riots to this coordinated terrorist attack that killed thousands.
Look, Rita, for me personally, I grew up in the New York area. I grew up in a town about 25 miles north of New York City, actually right on the Hudson River. And one of my really kind of coming to adulthood moments personally was being right there on the Hudson River on September 11, 2001, looking down the river and seeing the physical smoke from the towers. I mean, that was really kind of my impetus to start following current events, to start following politics, to develop kind of really kind of intellectual opinions in general. I mean, because once you see that level of visceral, shocking, unambiguous evil in the world, you are kind of immediately radicalized into being something of a conservative. But I guess that's kind of a talk for another day. The point is, having grown up there and lived there in New York, I literally remember the candlelight vigils trying to comfort people who lost their lives. 3,000 Americans slain, the absolute worst terrorist attack in the history of the country. And Kamala Harris is trying to compare that to what? To Ashley Babbitt. And there was one Capitol Hill police officer who died of an unrelated cause a day or two after that. I mean, it's just disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting, but it's actually very telling, Rita, and I'll tell you why. You know, for years after 9/11, you saw regimes of both political parties, initially the Bush administration and then later the Obama administration, try to weaponize the surveillance state and the intelligence community apparatus against mostly foreign enemies. Then we saw it kind of then taken to be domestic enemies during the Trump campaign in 2016 with the FISA warrant on Carter Page and all of that. But what we now see happening with the persecution of the January 6th political prisoners, and this is really not so subtly, I think, what Kamala Harris is trying to do here. She's trying to take that same mentality of terrorism. You know, as George W. Bush said, you're either with us or you're with the terrorists. She's implicitly, really not so implicitly, pretty explicitly actually trying to make that same comparison to January 6th and basically saying if you are an enemy of our regime, if you are MAGA, if you are Trump, if you are vaguely right of center, then you are an enemy and you should be subject to the exact same sort of surveillance and who knows what else, political or legal persecution, as the United States engaged in for years and years after 9/11. It's a profoundly dangerous sentiment. I think back to Joe Biden's speech in Philadelphia around Labor Day, I think it was last September, just about a year ago or so, where he had this infamously polarizing speech. They don't care about unifying Americans, Rita. They're trying to make an enemy of all of us on the right.
Oh, yes, I remember that speech with the red background. It was very sinister indeed.